Peper je muž, ktorý zažil veľký svet biznisu, mnoho rokov robil poradcu alebo takého osobného sprievodcu vrcholovým manažerom po celom svete. A teraz tesne pred týmto hovoril mi jeden krásny zážitok, ktorý sa mu stal. Z vážených novín sa ho niekto pýta: Peper, prečo si tu? On, ktorý už je vekom pokročilejší, sa rozhodol, ako putoval svetom, tak bol vo Francúzsku za čas, potom bol v Taliansku, žil. A keď prišiel do Prahy, už sa odtiaľ nevrátil a zostal tu. Už je tu 7 rokov a mnohí sa čudujú, možno si ukazujú prstom, či sa ten človek zbláznil, a on mi hovorí: nie, som tu nesmierne šťastný. Práve pre ľudí, ako ste vy, príde teraz medzi nás Peper, ktorý je jeden vynikajúci vrcholový coach a venuje sa dodnes prakticky tomuto svojmu poslaniu. Ani nie zamestnaniu, a už vôbec nie niečomu inému. Proste to je jeho poslanie. Tak Peper, poď medzi nás.
Dobry wieczór, Bratislava. It is wonderful to be here. Marianne was sharing a story with you that happened yesterday. A representative of the Financial Times came to my office in Prague to talk to me about syndicating the column in their paper. And he'd done his research. He said, let me see if I've got this right. You retired 7 years ago. You were living in a house in San Diego overlooking the Pacific. I said, yes, that's right. He said...
Slowly, because it's... Yeah, slowly, just
I'm
please.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. He said, why are you living in Central Europe?
You can go quickly because our students are perfect.
All right, okay, thank you. And I mean that. And I'll tell you why. I've worked with leaders around the world, in Asia, North America, and Europe. But I have never been in an environment where there was such a concentrated sense of energy, of electricity, and of promise as I feel in Central Europe. The Foreign Ministry invited me 6 years ago to attend an economic summit in Prague. It was 4 days long. My wife was walking around Old Town. And when I got out of the meeting, she said, can we stay here? We got rid of our place in Italy. We've lived in Prague and Malostran ever since, and it was the best thing that ever happened to me. Thank you for letting me live in this part of the world. I want to thank someone before I get started. I have worked with a number of translators over the years, but tonight I am working with one of the best I have ever worked with, Veronica Polakova. Where are you, Veronica? Stand up. Stand up. Thank you very much. It's an honor to work with you, and I want to thank you. Now, we've been talking about trust, we've been talking about caring, we've been talking about love, we've been talking about respect. We've been talking about a lot of things tonight. And a lot of things that make a lot of sense. But let me put this in a different perspective for you. How many of you in the audience tonight are or hope to be managers one day and lead people? How many? Quite a few. Well, let me frighten you. The Gallup organization, a global market research organization, recently did a study, and as far as I know, it's the largest study that has ever been done. 2 million respondents worldwide. And they asked them a number of questions to try to evaluate the engagement of the workforce globally. It's on the internet, by the way, under the Gallup Organization Employee Engagement Index. Look it up. Here's what they found out. And this is what, when I visit a boardroom anywhere in the world, this is the first thing I tell them, because I want to get their attention. 80% of the workforce today in the world is either passively or actively disengaged from their job. I was having lunch with a friend of mine the other day, and I said, you have any idea what this means? He said, yeah. The world economy is operating on 20% efficiency. Think about it. Now, why is that important? It's important because we're in the twilight of TQM, Six Sigma, restructuring, reorganizations. We're experiencing globally diminishing returns from these things. Every boardroom, every investor is asking their CEO, if this is true, where is the financial improvement going to come from? Where is it going to come from? Well, I think I know where it's going to come from because of behavioral economists and psychologists around the world talk about something that I call the human element of leadership. And that's why I, with two partners, founded the Prague Leadership Institute, which we launched last week, because that is what we're about. Now, let me explain that. Gallup interviewed employees from the top-performing companies worldwide, the most engaged people, and they asked them a series of questions, about what is important to you, and so on and so forth. What they found out was that the people who were the most engaged were working for managers that they felt a human link with. Think about that. It wasn't because of money. Top MBA graduates around the world in a recent study said they'd work for 14% less in cash to work for a reputable company, to work for a company that's involved in community service, to work for a company with good values. Interesting, isn't it? So this whole concept of trust, this whole concept of believing in people and trusting them has a very powerful impact on the bottom line. And what I tell people is this, that the holy grail of leadership in the 21st century is going to be the human element of leadership, and it's going to be based on what these wonderful speakers have been talking about tonight. It's going to be based on trust and respect. Now, I'm sorry, I didn't... Let me cover a couple of things with you. I guess I'm going the wrong way with that. The reason I'm here tonight is because of my trust and my faith in a young man that I want to ask to stand up, and I don't want to embarrass you too much, but Stanislav Bolodovic. Stand up, please. He is the one responsible for this event. I met this young man 2 years ago in Prague, and he told me about a dream that he had. Thank you very much, Stanislav. He told me about a dream that he had, and he called it Manageria. And he said, someday we're going to have a conference in Bratislava with some people in it, and we're going to talk about things like trust. How wonderful. Thank you very much, Stanislav. All right. Let's talk about some values. Let's talk about some values that are important to us. And when I say us, I mean people involved in FIM and people involved in Manageria, the people who are going to be offering their time as mentors and discussion participants with you over the next 12 months. And I'm going to be one of them. I told Stanislav that I couldn't commit to coming here once a month. But I have to tell you, after sitting through this tonight, I'd be a fool not to. And so I'm going to be here once a month also to take part in this, and I'm really looking forward to it. But let me share something with you first. These values are the values that we think are very important. They are values that help build this human element. They are values that help and support trust, engagement, humility, and commitment. And I'm going to ask you about these a little bit later, but what do we mean by these? Engagement. I talked about engagement a little bit earlier about the Gallup organization. But what it means to us, what it means tonight with this group of people is this. Become engaged. It doesn't mean show up for the discussion groups that we're going to have. It means get engaged in them. Share some thoughts. Don't just sit and take notes and lean back and get up and go get a coffee and talk about it, but share your thoughts with people. That's how we learn about each other, and that's how we share these valuable things that become the human element of leadership. Humility. I love this one. I would guess that 80% of the people in this room tonight are what would qualify as an alpha profile. Alphas are the people I work with. They're very smart, they're very accomplished, and they love to get things done. All right? And I call myself a recovering alpha. But let me tell you one thing we all have in common. Alphas see problems, they see solutions, and they see a straight line. Boom, that's it. An alpha's the one that walks in and says, "We got a problem. Go fix it. Here's what to do. Now get out of here. Thanks. Have a nice day." And so the problem is alphas sometimes have a problem with humility. Now, because we know everything, it's hard to be humble when you do that. But here's what it means to us tonight and with this group. It means leave your ego at the door. We are all fellow journeymen in this travel, this journey to leadership and to learning more about trust and the human element. Leave your ego at the door. Don't be afraid to talk to somebody, to expose your feelings about something, because, again, this is what helped create the links. And what you learn here over the next 12 months, you will be able to share with the people who work for you or will work for you one day to help them become the people who are sitting in the audience tonight. Commitment. Many years ago, there was a study done at Stanford University in the United States at the nursery school to the Graduate School of Business. And they took a room full of kids. And these were all 4-, 5-, and 6-year-old kids. And what they did was they put a plate of donuts in front of them. And they took them one at a time. And they set them down and they said, "Okay, now, you sit right here." And they had this big plate of donuts in front of them. And they said, okay, the researcher who was working with them said, "Now, I have to get up and I have to leave the room now. And I'll be back in a few minutes. If you wait for me to come back, you can have 2 donuts. But if you can't wait, you can have a donut now." Okay, so he gets up and walks out. And some of the kids, it's really funny, you can see it, I think they have some of the footage on YouTube. Some of the kids were sitting on their hands, they were squirming around, they were turning away from the plate, they were fighting it, they were scratching their head, they were trying to, "I'm not going to eat a donut, I'm not going to eat it, I'm going to eat it." And some kids would grab the donut and eat it and then stuff another one in their shirt. And but what they found was this. What they found was that the kids that could commit themselves to wait, we call it delayed gratification. The kids that could commit to delayed gratification, this was a longitudinal study, by the way. It's still going on. Some of these kids are in their late 40s today. They found out that the ones that could delay gratification, the ones that could express commitment, were the ones that made, on average, 10% higher in their grades. They made more money, they were more successful, and they were happier in life. We're asking for the people that get involved in what we are going to do to have a commitment to it. Now, let me cover 3 points. And then I want to tell you a story. The value proposition. What's the value proposition for you? Why do this? Why do we want to do it? We have other things to do, and you have other things to do too. Well, let me present this to you. I would think that some of the people that you're going to interact with in this program are people that would be difficult for you to meet during the course of the day to sit down and talk to them, all right? That has a value to it. These people have committed themselves to share their own experiences, to show you that they're three-dimensional. They are not perfect. We all make mistakes. And they're going to talk about those things and help you navigate some of the mistakes you've either made or you will make in life. What do we get out of it? What we get out of it is this. Every time I work with somebody, every time I work with a CEO or a board of directors, I always learn something about myself. I always learn something about myself. And I hope we all continue to do that. That, to me, is worth coming to Bratislava once a month for the next year, because I know that in this group of very bright people, you're going to educate me about myself. And that, to me, is worth a lot. And I hope it is to you. Okay, what's the quid pro quo? We're going to give you our time. We're going to give you our openness. We're going to give you stories about our past and share some of our experiences with you. What we ask of you is to live those values. Live them in the sense that you will use them over the next 12 months in the context of this program. That is what we're going to ask of you. And there will be ways in which we can discuss this. We can help you. There will be times when you feel like, I think I've had enough of this for a while. I don't need to work on myself so much. I think I'd like to go to the movie tonight. Please, if you commit yourselves, if you'll take part in this, we will take part in it. We will be here and we will work with you. Now, what's the action? Well, the action begins with us. We are going to be here, and starting tonight, we're going to start conducting workshops. Starting tonight, right after this, right after the break, we're going to have 7 or 8 workshops where you're going to break up into clusters of 20 people, 15 to 20 people, and we're going to sit and we're going to talk. And we're going to try to come up with an actionable item for when you leave here. Something to think about, to work on, to focus on. Now, there's the you part. The you part in action. To those of you who are interested in something bigger than yourselves, something bigger than just your career, your success, I would ask you that before 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, you go to our LinkedIn page. And where is it now? It's on Manager? Facebook. It's on Facebook, and where is it? What he said. Everybody got that, though? I mean, do you... Okay.
You can find the last page of the booklet you got.
Wonderful. By 10 o'clock tomorrow, the ones of you who feel like you want to be part of this, go to that page, put on that page something you'll commit to doing that will support these values over the next 12 months. How many of you think right now that you'll go to that page and put something on it? How many of you? I see we have some work to do. I hope that in the course of the workshops, those of you who didn't hold up your hand will feel like it when you leave. And I want to leave you with a story. I like to tell people, never doubt your ability to change someone's life, whether it's yours or someone else's. And I learned that very young in life. When I was a teenager, I was a real problem child. I was a discipline problem. I was thrown out of school. The superintendent of the school district where I live, it was a farm district in the state of Indiana, told my parents, don't bring him back to school. So what were the options for me? To go to a private school, my parents didn't have enough money for that, or to maybe go to an institution or something like that. And so my grandfather, who came from Italy, said to me, he said, Pepper, I'd only gone to high school for a year and a half. He said, Pepper, what are you going to do? And I said, I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do. He said, well, you got to do something. He said, I worked in a barbershop in Italy. I shaved necks. He said, how about being a barber? I said, okay. So he sent me to barber college, and I became a barber. And I was a barber working in a barber shop in a real kind of rundown shopping center, and there were 6 chairs in the barber shop. And some interesting things happened. The guy that worked on the chair next to me on my right got sent to federal prison for gambling. The guy on my left got sent to federal prison for harboring a fugitive. A friend of his held up a bank. He hid him in the basement, and gee whiz, the cops found him and sent him to prison, too. So I was beginning to wonder, is this kind of like maybe what's in store for me, So about a week or 2 after all of this happened, the phone rang in the barbershop, and somebody said, hey, Pepper, it's for you, and I walked over and I got it. And it was a guy that threw me out of school. It was the superintendent of high school at Pike Township High School in Marion County, Indiana, Edwin P. White. I will never forget this man. He said, Pepper, what are you doing? I said, I'm a barber. What are you doing? He said, well, I want to talk to you. I was going through some files, and I'd like to have you come in, and would you mind coming in for like an hour or so? I said, what for? I'm making $800 a month. I'm living large. I am having fun. What do I need to talk to you about? He said, please, come see me. I said, all right. So I went to see him. And he said, look, if you will go down to the Department of Education and take some tests, he said, it'll take you all day, but if you take the tests and you do okay on them, I'll sponsor you at university. And I thought, what an idiot. Why would he want to do that? So I thought, okay, I'll humor this guy. I went down and took the test. And I got accepted to 3 universities. Northwestern University, Indiana University, and the University of Arizona, which is where I went to school. I went to school there not to be a scholar. Playboy magazine did a big spread on the party schools of the West. That was a top school, so I said, I think I'll go there. My university education was less than stellar, but I did graduate. And I went on to do postgraduate work at Stanford and the University of Michigan. But the point is this. That man, Edwin P. White, changed my life. I don't know where I would be today if he hadn't have made that phone call, if he didn't have faith in me for some reason, and if he didn't trust that I would act on what he wanted me to do. And so I want to leave you with this. If there's a phone call that you can ever make to somebody, make it. Even if it's to yourself. Even if it's to yourself to say, come on, you can do better. You can do better than what you're doing. Give yourself a wake-up call. Thank you very much. I've enjoyed it.